Conviction is a legal procedural. That's the formula of the show. That every week there's a case that this team has been set up to try and investigate, to figure out whether justice has been done. So this kind of core team of misfits who kind of come together and don't really get on have this big task of having to kind of hash out old cases. And in the meantime, each one has their own backstory and their personal journey, and they're fighting their own demons. And so it's very much about how the characters interact with each other as we go along. It is about a woman fighting to have an authentic voice in a very corrupt and flawed system. Hayes Morrison is a very troubled former first daughter who was brought up in the public eye and made all the mistakes as normal teenagers and people in their college years do. However, she was scrutinized and had cameras in her face. She had to make all of her mistakes in the public eye, and she never really conformed to what she was told she was meant to be. She's still fighting that, and she's always kind of on her own existential cliff, and you don't know if she's gonna fall off the edge at any time. And she's very smart. She gets bored quite easily and restless, and therefore she likes to cause trouble because it entertains her. And I think she has, there's a sadness there. She didn't have a very stable upbringing. She didn't have a loving, safe environment to grow up in. She was kind of thrust into this kind of political landscape with very little emotional support from her incredibly ambitious parents. And she had to navigate her way through that. And I think that she's now in her adult life still struggling with the implications of what her childhood was. The fact that you have an ABC legal procedural that has a heroine in the middle of it, that in the first scene is arrested for cocaine possession and she's in a police cell, I thought that was quite bold. And I think this is kind of a time where a lot of TV shows are having these anti-heroines, that the audiences seem to be relating a lot more to the characters that we love to hate, or the ones that are slightly kind of hazy around the edges and morally ambiguous, but yet relatable and empathetic. So we're interested in them enough to go to certain dark places with them and forgive them. And I think there is lots of redeeming qualities of Hayes. Professionally, I would say that they have worked together and kind of been each other's nemesis. They're on an equal playing field in terms of intelligence and experience in the law world. And when they're together, I kind of imagined, well, we talked about it, Eddie and I, as they have this almost mental orgasm between each other when they're together. They're incredibly stimulated and turned on by each other professionally and personally. And that creates a lot of sexual tension. And we know from the beginning that they've known each other a while, that he's had an impact on her family life, that he's in some way involved in the family politics. And Hayes hates that because that's part of how he gets to have power over her. And so it's a great power struggle between them from the beginning, but yet there's probably fondness underneath that too. What makes Hayes relatable is that I think there are a lot of people who grew up feeling a pressure to be something their peers or their family or their friends or society wanted them to be, to look, to say, to do, to act. And that struggle as you grow up, that coming of age of who am I really, what is it that I really think and feel about these things? How do I protect my reputation but have an authentic voice? And what we love about Hayes is that she says what we all kind of think and feel. She's naughty in that respect, but brilliant, because we all go, God, I wish I was that bold. And that's what's so great about playing her, is that she says things I would never have the confidence to say. And a lot of the time she's right. You know, she says things as it, she says it as it is. She doesn't care about pleasing anyone. She doesn't have much to lose because she's already made some pretty shocking, scandalous mistakes in the public eye. And the great thing about that, it's given her the freedom to go, well, I've got nothing else to hide now, so I might as well just let it all hang out and be myself. So there is a very attractive freedom in that, as opposed to someone who has tried so hard to be a certain way and have this facade and this public persona. And yet if they do something slightly wrong, or if they say a bad word here or there, suddenly they have a lot further to fall. Hayes kind of doesn't. She's kind of living down the kind of the scrap heap of her own kind of moral and socially acceptable behaviour. So she can kind of mess around and have a bit more fun.